by email. I'll ask the attorney to raise the question. If you don't know the answer to a question, it's okay to say you don't know, right? If you can give only approximate information, for example, approximate date or approximate time, you can do that. Also wait for the attorney to finish asking the questions so you can fully answer. And if the attorney says, excuse me, or I'm feeling differently, please do exactly what you just said.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
How did you come to be here today to testify?
I was subpoenaed by the office.
Now, where are you employed on October 3rd, 2012?
New York City District Council of Law.
And what was your title at that time on August 3rd?
Council of Law.
And what was that? And what union is that? Is there another number?
I work directly for the district council. I don't work for the board.
Now, was there come a time when you were requested to become involved in a situation involving the claimant, Johnny Hodges, and her employee?
Yes.
And tell me how that came about.
We received a letter from the contractor stating issues with the performance of the shop scope.
And after the letter was received, what action was taken?
We went to the job site for a job site meeting.
And where did you go?
Pier 36, Basketball City.
And when did you receive that letter?
I honestly couldn't give you a date.
I'm going to show it to you. Did you actually see the letter?
Is there hard evidence rather than, because I want to see, and I'm not really comfortable with sharing the computer. Does Ms. Shulman, with her extensive file there, have a copy?
No, it's in the board file, Judge. It's been in the board file since.
Judge, would you kindly print it out? It was out.
If it's in the board file, you should have it.
Well, then I do have it. I'd like the document number. I want to be very specific and very clear.
Okay, let's see if you can provide that.
Okay, I'll just show you. It's document ID number 1903-22341. It's been provided employer personnel.
August 4th, notes requesting a meeting tomorrow to discuss terminations.
I'm saying, isn't it easier to print off?
Is this the letter that you received?
Can we see? Why don't you look at it and I'll stand over there, sir.
I believe that's it.
Oh. And when did you go to the doctor?
I believe the following day.
That would be August 5th.
It's customarily a practice closing.
And what happened when you arrived at the job site?
I went to the job site, spoke to the shop steward,
And who is this?
Johnny Hodges. We talked about the job. I explained to her why I was there, and I went to.
Oh, I'm just going to stop
Okay.
here. When you say you talked about the job and you explained to her why you were there specifically, what was the conversation?
We talked about the job itself, and then I explained to her that we received a letter from the company asking to remove her as a shop steward.
And what did you do next?
I then said just to sit tight, let me go talk to the foreman.
And did you talk to the foreman?
Yes, I did.
And who is that foreman?
I don't remember.
Okay, is it the gentleman sitting outside?
Yes.
Just a minute.
Your Honor,
Hang on one moment. Let's hold it.
Sorry, my two back?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you know now?
Okay. What did you do next?
That's after you said, I had received a letter from the company asking to ask her to be removed as a shop steward. And then you said, what did you do next?
Okay,
Well,
and
this is
your
after.
what was your answer to that? What did you do?
Not so fast.
As this one, I spoke to her about the job site,
No. What did you do after that? I think you said I talked to the foreman.
and then I went to speak to the woman.
Okay, and then I asked you, do you remember his name?
Right, no.
Okay, is it the gentleman sitting outside?
And I'm objecting to that. If Ms. Schulman's going to introduce witnesses, but she's leading the witness, if the man doesn't know, the witness doesn't know his name, then he doesn't know his name.
I believe it's Joe or John.
They said the man sitting outside.
Before the hearing, you and I, and the man sitting outside, Joe, we all greeted each other, is that
Yes.
correct?
I mean, we know the man's name since Ms. Schulman's acknowledging as an officer of the court that she had a conversation or agreed prior to the trial.
Absolutely. His name is Joe Reyes. He's the individual the claimant identified as her job foreman, and he was the witness who was present at the prior trial date. Okay. And what was the conversation you had with the foreman?
I asked him to show me what the problem was with the craftsmanship of the work. We walked the job site. He pointed out different areas where the shop steward had worked. And it became very clear to me that it just wasn't going to work between the company and this shop steward.
Now, what specific problems did he show you?
He showed me the areas that she worked in, but the problem was the pace of the work, how long it was taking to do certain tasks, and also he felt the quality was lacking.
And did you arrive at a conclusion regarding the continued relationship?
I arrived at the conclusion, yes, because it was obvious that this foreman and this shop steward were not going to be able to coexist on the job site.
And what did you do next?
I went back over to speak to the shop steward about what was happening.
And then when you say shop steward, you're referring to the claimant?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you tell him?
Basically that this, it didn't seem like this foreman was going to change his mind. I just felt it was best for her to step away from this job at this time.
And at that point, did she advise you of anything else?
Yes, she advised me that, because I had mentioned to her, that he said she was working at a slow pace, and she advised me at that point that she had heard it back 2 to 3 days earlier. I'm being very approximate.
Okay. And did you ask her whether she had completed an accident report?
I did. I asked her if she had filled out a report. She stated at that time that she did not.
Now, as a general question, is there a rule about filling out an accident report when one is injured on the job?
It's a rule for anybody in any line of work. If you get hurt on the job, you should fill out an accident report.
Is there a time frame immediately?
My recommendation to all of my members is to fill it out immediately.
Now, as a shop steward, would the claimant have any role with regard to completing accident reports or advising regarding accident reports regarding the people she works with?
I'm sorry. Yes.
And what is that role?
As one of the primary responsibilities for a shop steward is to make sure that if there are any injuries on a job site, it goes to the shop steward to make sure that the proper documentation is filled out. If the member needs to go to the hospital, most times the shop steward will accompany that person to the hospital to make sure that they're okay. And at that point, they'll make the proper phone calls to the union, business agents, so on and so forth, to state that there was an accident.
Are you surprised that you have not yet filled out an accident report regarding an incident allegedly dated before?
I'm going to object to the form of the question.
What's problematic about it?
I believe that I believe counsel is leading the witness, and I'm objecting to the use of the word surprised. It would be more appropriate. This is not cross-examination. This is direct. She could have asked her what was his reaction to learning that she hadn't filled it out, but using the word surprised is giving a suggestion as to what the answer would be.
Okay, let's rephrase that as well, excuse me.
Did you have any reaction to the fact that the claimant advised you that she had not yet filled out an accident report regarding an incident that she alleged occurred some days prior?
My reaction was, you need to fill it out right now.
And did you do that?
Yes, she then, the foreman actually went and got the paperwork for her to fill out.
Now, shop stewards, what are they also workers? I mean, straight down. A shop steward, what is their role at a given job?
I'm going to object. We're not talking about any given job, and this young man is here to
I'll
tell.
allow the question, go ahead.
A shop steward in general, what is their role? And if you can tailor it to this specific job, if you know.
It's the same no matter what job they're on. Shop steward responsibility is to work the same as everybody else on the crew. They are allotted a certain amount of time each day to perform their shop steward duties, which is, do you want me to actually go through a list? There are shop steward reports that need to be filled out, which lists every member that's working on the job site and how many hours they've worked. That's one of the primary duties.
Just my question is, are they required to perform the normal jobs as a carpenter in addition to their shop steward duties?
Absolutely.
There would be no special allowance made regarding work.
Depending on the size of the job, it takes a little bit. It will take longer. How many members are there working? It would take longer for them to do their shop steward duties. So, can I give an example, or is that too much?
No, my question is, would they still be required to do the same physical work as any other member?
Yes, absolutely.
As any other carpenter,
Yes.
not as any other, as a laborer on the
No,
site.
carpenter. Strictly carpenters, that's all I talk about. Don't care about the other trades.
Now, the claimant has testified that on July 27, 2011, she called a hotline reporting a problem with regard to insulation, I believe, that was being used on this particular job. Is there such a hotline that exists?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
That would be the office that I'm in now, or the Federal Review Officer's office line. There are two numbers where you can make a formal complaint and leave a message. It would be one of those two numbers.
Now, if she had left a message making a formal complaint, what would have occurred in response to that complaint?
A job site visit would have been done by my office, the Inspector General's office.
Your current office.
My current office, yes, I'm sorry.
And you would be aware of that type of a complaint?
Not necessarily. If the case folder wasn't given to me, I may not be aware of, of an investigation.
Okay. At any point prior to today, were you ever made aware of any complaint made by the claimant with regard to this specific job site of insulation?
I'm going to object. The witness answered the question that was asked, and so are we now, is the question that's being asked that since that time in his new role as inspector, is he being asked to revisit something that was made then or not? I'm concerned about the question, I'm concerned about the form of the question, and I'm concerned about,
Okay, I'm going to cut it off right there. I'm not concerned with the question. You can ask that question. It made sense to me. Go ahead.
At any
no,
time
my exception.
prior to today, were you ever made aware of a complaint that the claimant lodged pursuant to that hotline regarding improper insulation on that site?
Never.
But you would not necessarily be privy to that information, correct?
No, not necessarily, but no.
Is it likely you would be aware of it?
No, not in my office now. No, it depends on who the investigation is.
Okay. Would it be certain that some action would have been taken regarding that complaint if
Yes.
it were made?
Yes,
Would there be a record of it?
there would be. There would be a case folder.
And if I were to bother you again and send another subpoena, would you be able to provide us with the information if this exists?
I don't know that subpoena. I don't know if I'd be able to release those records. I think you would have to talk to the Inspector General or department for that. That's not too much.
Earlier, you gentlemen had talked about be willing to go off the case for right now and come back on if there's a question of apportionment?
Well, that's going to be my application. I don't know if
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
I just realized I didn't raise it, that had mentioned whether or not they would need to stay. Do you have any question, do you have any reason for them to be here?
No, but would you mind if I just move an answer?
That would be fine. And Mr. Einziger, what about you? Do you have any interest in staying?
Judge, if you're finding we have no standing to be here right now, that's fine. I mean, I was going to join in controverting this claim because if she's out, I'm never going to face abortion. So that's why I'm still coming to these. So
So you'd rather stay?
I'm aligned in interest with her to the point that, you know, we think this claim should be disallowed as well. My secondary argument would be there's no evidence of abortion. So
Right. That's basically
And
my
our position is they can stay or leave, we don't care, but clearly if she had a pre-existing condition and she had back injuries before and she needs medical treatment, maybe it is an exacerbation and that's a question for the doctor. So
Okay, if
it's
there's
not
an
just
issue
a
of
blanket.
apportionment that comes up.
Absolutely.
How about Mr. Einziger?
Well, we would take the same position. We are also raising 25A.
Yeah, and we're also raising one of them.
Okay, so perhaps what I'll do is I'll go back on the record and I'm sorry I didn't take care of this before now, but I'll just state that discharge and remove notice, unless you want to stay?
I want to stay.
You want to stay, okay.
I don't want to. I like you.
Mr. Einziger?
We'll request discharge.
Okay, we'll just go back on the record. I'm so sorry that I put this off, but I have some extra people here who are representing insurance carriers in earlier cases. Mr. Friedman?
Yes, I'm here on behalf of PMA on the 1997 case. The case was established with the left leg and closed in 01 on the schedule. On behalf of PMA, we're asking to be discharged and removed from notice. There's no evidence of any apportionment against that file, and we're also raising 25A.
Okay, that is granted on all what you're raising.
Thank you.
I believe, Your Honor, that there was an RFA from the claimant separately for, she was looking for medical treatment due to the left leg. So whether they're involved with the back or not, this case, there are several RFAs on all the cases to reopen and restore based on the fact that when the claimant was out of work, she went to see, we had an extensive discussion. So,
Are you not claiming legs on this file?
the claimant had a prior scheduled OCU, so clearly she injured that leg, and clearly if she was having symptomatology, whether or not there's apportionment is not for me to say, it's for a doctor.
It's alleged on this case.
That's what I'm saying.
It's alleged on this case.
So I'm
And
asking
you do have a left leg case, so.
I'm just saying my case is from
1997.
1997. It was closed in 01. I don't see how...
I'll remove and discharge
All right.
PMA,
All right.
Reliance Insurance Company, and we'll bring you back on if there's a question.
Okay, unfortunate. Thank you.
Okay.
And his case was separately reopened with an RFA on different issues. So that, with that case, if that case is on calendar, it's not only traveling with the lead case, it's got separate issues, and we'll just do another RFA and talk to you at another time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Unziger.
Yes, Judge. We have a prior neck and back case. We paid the claimant for about 3 months in 2002. There's no medical since 03. We will request to be discharged for now. We're raising 25A. If the lead case today is established, then we can be brought back on the issue of apportionment if there's medical evidence for that.
I would like to be placed on notice on that file, just so I have access to the medicals, but I have no objection to Mr.
Okay,
Friedman.
I'll discharge and remove from notice National Union Fire Insurance. If apportionment does become an issue, we'll see that in notice. That case, Ms. Schulman, is 00236-524. It is open today, and so
That case is
00236-524. And so I'm going to direct that Americans are placed on notice.
Thank you.
And we're also raising 25A. I did say that already.
You did.
Okay. Never hurts to say it too often.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to keep everybody here for so long. I knew, I've kind of gotten a heads up that I wanted to raise the issue. So. Okay, thank you very much. You're a brave man, Mr. Cologne, to stay anyway. Okay.
I
Let's
don't want
continue.
to be alleged that I wasn't here for the litigation.
Okay. Let's continue. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's a Dini notice. a statement, Melissa?
No, I'm good. I don't think I have anything further for you, so thank you.
Okay, I have a few questions as well. The work that was done, I think there was a sheetrock that was going up, correct?
Yes.
Is this work that typically would be done by one person? Or was, it would be done by one person hanging it? And the pace at which it was done, was that an adequate pace for one person?
I could not answer that. I'm not on the job site because it was, how somebody's working. I'm only called in.
Do you recall anything about the quality of the work?
When I went there, she was working. The work appeared adequate. I couldn't say that it was terrible or it was perfection. It was adequate.
So your call on having Ms. Hodges leave was more related to the friction between her and the foreman?
I think that's, in the end, that's what the end result was. There was a lot of friction between the two of them.
When you received the letter from the contractor, do you remember how it was received?
By fax.
Had somebody, to your recollection, called the district council? Am I saying it right? New York City District Council?
Sure.
Had somebody called and you have a secretary and then they say, okay, we have this call because you're that council rep, you need to go to the site? How does that work?
What happens is the company will normally either call me directly and say we have a problem on the site, we want to have them, we want you to come down, so we tell them you have to put it in writing, and then we'll come the following day.
Had you spoken to the gentleman outside Joe Reyes, to your recollection, prior to receiving that fax?
Only on a job site visit, when the shop steward was dispatched, was the first time that I had talked to him.
And do you remember when that was?
I really don't know. The job has been going on for a long time. It's actually still going on.
Right. Were you aware, as a council rep for the New York City District Council, that there was a lot of dissension between the neighborhood and the job site?
Judge, I do not know how this is relevant.
Yeah, can you explain?
Certainly.
You tried to bring this issue before, and I'm not really sure how it's relevant. I'd be happy to let you ask questions about it if it's relevant, but I don't want to go off on a wild goose chase when we have limited time.
Okay. The allegation being made by the witness outside, who I believe were the employer, is that the claimant was doing shoddy work and she was doing slow work and needed to be removed. There are articles, and I would ask you to take judicial notice if you were to research the issue, that there's a lot of dissension in the neighborhood. And there have been people coming to the neighborhood and people boycotting the site. There are other restrictions on the job site that are not limited just to what's physically going on at the location with this particular individual. And I just wanted to know whether this witness was aware. He just testified that the job is still going on. And I'm asking him whether, in his opinion, there are other factors of why this job site's still going on.
You can ask that question. That's a different question.
Okay. To your knowledge, are there other issues as to why this job site is taking so long to be completed?
Well, objection. How do we even know it's taking long? How do we know that it's
Okay, I'll start with
progression
that.
of the job?
Okay. In your experience as a council rep for the New York City District Council of Carpenters, is this basketball city a big project? And how many workers, carpenters, were hired, if you know, to complete the project?
I couldn't tell you how many they went through during the process of the job.
Did the company contact the district council and discuss what the plans were for the project prior to beginning the project?
Judge, how is this relevant?
I'm trying to lay the foundation.
Are you trying to set out that it's overdue? You can simply ask, is the project overdue?
Would you know whether the project is overdue?
No, because I'm not privy to what the job schedule is.
Okay. Have you ever worked with technoacoustics prior to the 8-3, withdraw and rephrase, prior to your initially visiting the job site, when the shop steward first went to the job site, had you had any prior dealings with technoacoustic holdings?
I'm sure that I must have been on a job site of theirs before. I visit every contractor that's signatory to the Carpenters Union that was in my zone, which that area is considered Zone 1.
And what is Zone 1?
Zone 1 would be from Houston Street south, east side to west side, FDR Drive to any other part.
To the tip of the valley?
From where?
From the FDR Drive or South Street to the west side of Manhattan, the west side highway, whatever you want to call it.
And you said from Houston to where the ferry is?
Yeah, right to the ferry, yes.
And we're
All
talking-
my wonderful area.
Okay. And how many projects in 2011, let me ask you this, do you have any recollection what year the basketball city job site started?
I'm sure he doesn't know how long and drawn out it was, whether or not it passed its due date or not. And I don't think it's really essential part of your case. He's already testified that he didn't see that there was anything, that he couldn't determine himself whether or not there was anything especially slow about the claimant's work. So let's move on to other issues.
Had you ever dealt with Joe Reyes prior to this particular basketball city job?
No.
Now, can we look at that letter? Do you still have it up? Now, you're saying Joe Reyes would have called you prior to, and you would have indicated to back it up with a letter?
No,
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the
he's stating his testimony, but I'll let him clarify it.
Okay.
Well, I have down what he said. To the best of your recollection, if this letter was dated August 4th and we don't have a fax transmittal sheet, let's get a calendar.
Do you happen to have it? That's correct.
Do you have a little book, a diary that you keep with you when you go to these job sites?
Well, the only thing we keep is time sheets, so it would say that I was at that address.
And would that time sheet be something that you would sign in with the shop steward, or it's a separate time sheet? Okay. So, what's framing?
Framing would be what you do, the walls that you put up. Traditionally, you would say 2x4s, but we use primarily metal studs.
Okay. Had Technoacoustics Holdings given you documentation of what its standards were referable to rocking and framing?
It would just be considered an industry standard.
What would be an industry standard for rocking and framing?
What we considered, I guess what we would consider industry standard would be a good day's work for a good day's pay. You would keep up to everybody else on the job site.
Okay, so how many doors would that be?
We don't put quotas on any members.
How many?
If you could repeat what you just said, it was Kristen.
Okay, how many something was that?
What was your figure?
How many
Even
doors
for
would that require? And he said, he would know.
We don't put quotas on our members.
Did you ask Mr. Arrayas what work Ms. Hodges had done that needed to be redone based on the letter of Anne Marie Smith?
Yes.
And did he show you the work that had to be redone?
He showed some columns that had to be finished because they weren't being done fast enough.
Well,
And
if it,
also some walls that he had pointed out.
I'm trying to understand that. They had to be redone because they weren't fast enough? Does that mean that if they weren't fast enough, then
Well,
I don't understand, we have to redo them, just finish them?
well, yeah, finish them. I may have spoken
Okay.
improperly. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay, I'm just trying to understand, that's why I'm asking.
No
So,
problem. I'm also trying to remember back months ago,
okay.
so I apologize if I'm not.